The CIA, America's most secretive intelligence agency. Officially, its mission is to protect the United States, but behind the scenes, it has played a key role in overthrowing governments worldwide. From Latin America to the Middle East, the CIA has shaped history, often in ways they don't want you to know. Let's uncover the times the CIA tried to topple a government. In the summer of 1953, Iran stood at a crossroads. Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, a staunch nationalist, had made a bold move. He had nationalized Iran's oil industry, cutting out British and American interests that had long profited from the country's resources. To the West, this was unacceptable. In the halls of Washington and London, a plan was set in motion. Operation Ajax, a covert CIA-led mission to remove Mossadegh and restore the Shah's absolute rule. Leading the operation on the ground was Kermit Roosevelt Jr., a seasoned CIA operative. His first task was to weaken Mossadegh's support. The CIA funneled money into Iranian newspapers, publishing false stories that painted Mossadegh as corrupt and unstable. Religious leaders were bribed to turn public sentiment against him, while paid protesters flooded the streets, chanting slogans against the prime minister. Economic pressure was also applied. Western nations blocked Iran's oil exports, strangling its economy. On August 50, 1953, the plan went into action. The Shah, hesitant but pressured by the CIA, signed orders to remove Mossadegh. That night, military officers loyal to the Shah attempted to arrest him, but the plan collapsed. Loyalist troops and Mossadegh's supporters fought back, and the coup seemed to have failed. The Shah, fearing for his life, fled Iran, first to Iraq and then to Italy. But the CIA wasn't done. Roosevelt quickly regrouped, pouring more money into bribing military officers and organizing larger protests. On August 19th, thousands of CIA-backed demonstrators took to the streets of Tehran, clashing with police and storming government buildings. Pro-Shah military units seized the radio station, broadcasting messages of the Shah's return. As the fighting intensified, Mossadegh's house was surrounded and shelled. By nightfall, he was arrested. With Mossadegh gone, the Shah returned triumphantly, backed by Western powers. His rule became increasingly authoritarian, with U.S. support ensuring his grip on power, until the 1979 Iranian Revolution swept him away. Operation Ajax had succeeded, but it left a lasting legacy: deep resentment in Iran and a strained relationship with the U.S. that endures to this day. In the early 1950s, Guatemala was a nation on the rise. Its democratically elected president, Jacobo Arbenz, had set out to transform the country, redistributing land to poor farmers and challenging the dominance of foreign corporations, particularly the United Fruit Company, UFC. But in Washington, these reforms were seen as a dangerous step toward communism. The UFC, with deep ties to U.S. politicians, lobbied for action, and in 1954, the CIA launched Operation PBSUCCESS, a secret mission to overthrow Arbenz and install a U.S.-friendly leader. The man chosen to lead the coup was Carlos Castillo Armas, an exiled Guatemalan military officer. From bases in Honduras, he trained a small rebel army, supplied and funded by the CIA. But brute force alone wouldn't be enough. The operation relied on deception and psychological warfare. The CIA set up a radio station, Voice of Liberation, which broadcast false reports of massive uprisings and military defections. Guatemalans, listening in fear, began to believe their government was collapsing from within. As the coup began, the rebels, despite their small numbers, launched attacks, targeting remote areas and creating the illusion of a widespread revolution. CIA pilots bombed key locations, while the U.S. spread rumors of an imminent American invasion. Inside Guatemala, CIA agents worked to turn military leaders against Arbenz. One by one, his officers abandoned him. Realizing he had been isolated, Arbenz had little choice. On June 27, 1954, he resigned, walking away from the government he had fought to build. Castillo Armas, now backed by the U.S., took power, dismantling the reforms and ushering in decades of military rule. For Guatemala, the coup was just the beginning. In the years that followed, brutal military regimes, civil war, and human rights abuses would tear the country apart, all stemming from a CIA operation that had succeeded far too well. The year was 1960, and the winds of change were sweeping across Africa. The Democratic Republic of the Congo had just gained independence from Belgium, and its first elected prime minister, Patrice Lumumba, was a charismatic leader with a vision. He wanted true independence, free from Western control. But in Washington and Brussels, Lumumba was seen as a threat. His willingness to accept Soviet aid in the face of Western hostility convinced the CIA that he was leaning toward communism. In response, the US and Belgium set in motion a plan to remove him permanently. Chaos erupted soon after independence. The mineral-rich Katanga province, backed by Belgium, declared secession. Lumumba, desperate to maintain national unity, reached out to the Soviet Union for support, alarming the West. The CIA under Allen Dulles labeled him a clear danger and authorized covert action to neutralize him. At first, assassination was considered. Poison was sent to the CIA station chief in Congo, but the plan never materialized. Instead, the agency backed Joseph Mobutu, a young military officer with money and weapons to take control. On September 14, 1960, Mobutu, with CIA backing, led a coup, arresting Lumumba. But even in custody, Lumumba remained a powerful symbol. The US and Belgium feared he might return to power, so a more permanent solution was arranged. On January 17, 1961, Lumumba was flown to Katanga, handed over to his worst enemies, and brutally executed by firing squad. His body was dissolved in acid, ensuring no grave would become a rallying point. With Lumumba gone, Mobutu, America's new strongman, eventually took full control, ruling Congo with an iron fist for over 3 decades. The assassination of Lumumba wasn't just the death of a leader. It was the crushing of a dream for true African independence, one that the CIA helped to bury. Declassified files confirm the CIA plotted Lumumba's assassination. While they didn't pull the trigger, they aided his arrest, leading to his execution by Belgian-backed forces. In the 1970s and 1980s, a terrifying alliance emerged in South America, one that operated in the shadows, silencing dissent and crushing opposition. Known as Operation Condor, it was a secret campaign of political repression, torture, and assassination, coordinated by the military dictatorships of Argentina, Chile, Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Bolivia. With support from the CIA, these regimes waged a brutal war against left-wing activists, journalists, intellectuals, and anyone suspected of opposing their rule. The 1980s saw another major CIA intervention, this time in Nicaragua. The leftist Sandinista government had overthrown a US-backed dictator, so the CIA armed and trained Contra rebels to fight them. The funding came from an illegal arms deal with Iran, a scandal that nearly brought down the Reagan administration. In 2002, Venezuelan President Hugo Chávez, a vocal critic of the US, was briefly ousted in a coup. Leaked documents suggest the CIA was involved, though Chávez regained power within days. In 2014, Ukraine's pro-Russian President Viktor Yanukovych was overthrown in a popular uprising. While officially a revolution, some argue that the US and CIA played a role in fueling the movement.